we actually predicted the Russian Anschluss.
Article 5 was created for a different type of war.
The largest recipient of EU funds for the defense industry under the SAFE program. Nobody is self-sufficient in Europe.
On a spectrum of how much patience Poland has when it comes to plausible deniability, where are you now with Russia?
If China was delivering as much materiel or weapons as we sometimes suspect, the war would be over. We also have the largest drone factory in the European Union in Poland.
The Warsaw Security Forum started in 2014. This was just as Crimea was invaded. It was thought of more as probably a regional security event. This year, its significance is probably unmatched because of location and what's happened in September. The Polish reaction to the violation of its airspace, do you feel it was adequate?
Well, first of all, let me say that in Poland, we actually predicted the Russian Anschluss of Crimea. I put a Polish consulate in Sevastopol, the only NATO one there, 4 years before, so that during the Russian operation, we had current information. And remember, throughout the takeover of Crimea, Putin was denying that it was his forces, just like he denied that he had any plans to invade Ukraine. And now they're denying that this was a deliberate breaching of our airspace, but we know that it was deliberate, and that it's part of the spectrum of Russia's hybrid war against the West. We think Russia is making another mistake. Instead of splitting us, Russia is consolidating us, both in Poland and across the alliance, and also showing up some improvements that we need to make in the ladders of our air defenses.
Ukraine was immediately there to support Poland when they asked for help with strengthening the air defense. Ukraine has really been a buffer for what Poland knows could come next. Poland has had a series of bad experiences historically with allies. And by 2027, Poland wants to be self-sufficient with a lot of military items. Strategically, what are the most important things for Poland in an ally? And also in terms of military needs, what are you expanding on the most?
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. So yes, the Russians have invaded Poland many times over several centuries, and it's always on the pretext of protecting national or religious minorities. So when they threaten us, we take it seriously. And we've been spending a solid 2% of GDP on defense for the last 20 years. We are now at 4.7, highest number in NATO, including the United States, proportionately. But no, we don't plan to be self-sufficient. Nobody is self-sufficient in Europe because Russia has a stronger military than any single European country. So yeah, we joined NATO for the same reason that everybody else joined NATO, for common defense. But we're satisfied that allies rallied round when Russia made this latest provocation.
So we know Article 5 was created for a different type of war, and it's hard to know what would trigger it. Do you think finding different types of coalitions or minilateral constellations, coalitions of the willing, is a response that Poland might pursue with threat perceptions?
Article 5 was passed in order to deter communist Russia. It's actually been invoked in defense of the United States.
Only once, yes.
For an expeditionary war against the Taliban in Afghanistan. But this shows you how flexible it is. It's fairly clear what would trigger it. A kinetic strike or incursion against a member state would trigger it. Of course, it has a political aspect to it. There is no red button to be pressed. You would still need a political response. The North Atlantic Council would meet and states would declare what they are willing to put into the effort. But by threatening and provoking us, Russia is increasing our sense of solidarity. So I think Putin's actions are completely counterproductive.
But if I understand that right, you don't think a drone attack is then a kinetic attack? Wouldn't people in Kyiv argue with you about that?
Well, the drones that breached Poland's airspace were all unarmed, and nobody was killed. So it's just below the threshold, but not far.
Let's talk about that. Who sends unarmed drones somewhere unless they want plausible deniability? On a spectrum of how much patience Poland has when it comes to plausible deniability, where are you now with Russia?
Oh, the deniability didn't prove to be that plausible because we have the wreckage, and it's clearly Russian wreckage. So we know who did it. But yes, there was some disinformation by Russia that supposedly these were Ukrainian drones, which is absurd. But what's useful about that is that you see what assets Russia has in the political and, if I may say so, journalistic class, because you see who parrots Russian narratives.
I'm seeing a very interesting framing from you. This experience has been rather positive. The alliance was tested, unity was shown, you've gained information from Russia, and Russia knows how the NATO alliance is going to react. What do you think the next developments are? Is Russia going to learn from this experience? And
it doesn't look like it. In addition, we got reconfirmation vis-à-vis our public for the spending on defense. And if we just do what we pledged ourselves to do at the Hague NATO summit, then by the end of the decade, we'll have a first-class military as Europe. And we will be able to deter Putin on our own. Another non-victory for Russia.
Poland has developed an excellent defense sector. Is there any considerations to develop that sector further and export to allies or specialize in that?
We don't produce everything, but we produce some good stuff. APCs under license from Finland proved their worth in Afghanistan. Howitzers, I actually visited them in my previous capacity as a member of the European Parliament at the front, at the cutting edge. Polish howitzers manned by Ukrainian soldiers shooting American Excalibur 155 millimeter shells and doing it very well. Polish short-range anti-aircraft missiles, which you can actually see in the foyer here, seem to be in demand everywhere, including in the United States. So yes, we make some stuff that has proven its worth, and other allies have other advantages. Together, we are stronger than Russia.
Right now, it's slowly becoming clear as there's credible evidence that the framework of Chinese and Russian military cooperation is much more established than perhaps people thought. And
well, my Chinese colleague tells me, and I appreciate the sense of humor, is that if China was delivering as much materiel or weapons as we sometimes suspect, the war would be over. So, I think China is respecting some of our red lines. It's the fact that Russia has been reduced to beg for help from North Korea and Iran shows how much it has sunk in the world.
Poland is one of the key importers of drones from Taiwan. There's a delegation here from Taipei.
We also have the largest drone factory in the European Union in Poland, but these are different types of drones.
Is there any consideration, considering that Taiwan is under a similar threat, that Poland would consider exporting military goods to Taiwan?
I don't think we want to go there. We respect the one China policy.
Coming off of President Zelensky's opening statement today, when he was asked about what weapons Ukraine needs, the first thing he mentioned was unity.
Was what?
Unity as a weapon, as
Sure.
something valuable.
Well, we are democracies, so there's always lively debate, particularly on issues of sovereignty or war and peace. But we know what Ukraine needs. First of all, anti-aircraft assets to protect their people from these war crimes that Russians commit almost every night. Attacking civilian targets is a war crime. But there's a short list of what they need.
How is Poland going to take on a larger role in European defense? You're spending almost 5%. You're on the front line, so to speak. Do you feel that there's been room made for you to take on a leadership role? In proportion to the size of our country. But yes, we take defense seriously, always have done. In addition to our own resources, we intend to and have a prospect of being the largest recipient of EU funds for the defense industry under the SAFE program, 47 billion euros in soft loans, real money. And when all this happens, we will be not only capable of deterring Putin, we will also have a much more equal relationship with the United States. Finally, there's that old saying that things always get worse before they get better. Are they still getting worse or are they getting better now?
I think what you heard today at the Warsaw Security Forum is the conviction that that peak Putin is behind us in military terms, that he has spent his resources, that his offensive has petered out, that he doesn't have much more to throw into the fight, whereas Ukraine has found Russia's weak spot, which is a paradoxical one because the size of the country was always Russia's advantage militarily, strategically. And now it means that Russia is incapable of protecting all its assets on the ground from air attacks by Ukraine, which are, as you know, being very successful. So my takeaway from this year's Warsaw Security Forum is that perhaps time has started playing against Vladimir Putin.